Hello and welcome to Esther's Gardening Adventures. I'm Esther. I'm finally caught up enough that I feel like I can share a gardening update with you and give you a tour. So today I'm going to tour we're going to see what's going on with my 2 community garden plots. So I rent 2 community garden plots from the county for my own personal gardening use. They're 25 by 30 feet each. I'm in Maryland Zone 7A. There's lots to show you. So I'm going to show you my 2 community garden plots. I'm going to show you how my home gardens are doing. All right, let's get going. Here is one of my 2 community garden plots. So it's basically from where you see that bed, those beds over there, all the way to the fence and up to here. So I still have a bunch of plants I need to transplant. Some squash, zucchini, and pumpkins, tomatoes. I think I got most of the peppers transplanted. But yeah, we still got quite a bit to find a place in the garden for. These are tomato plants. So we have, see, this is green zebra, Fakel, which is a red tomato. So the tomato plants in this row are looking pretty good, as well as in that row. Over here are the peppers, and I have a Cinderella pumpkin plant that I imagine is going to take over this whole area with vining once it gets going. The peppers include bell peppers, but also look at this. We have some little baby peppers. So these were ones that I started indoors under grow lights, and these are the, what does it say? The Lhasa Tibetan peppers. I remember these. I think these are spicy. Look at these tiny baby peppers. Now, one tip for peppers is you want to harvest the first batch of peppers because that'll prompt the plant to produce more fruit. I bet these are really spicy. All right, I'm glad I wore something with pockets because they're going in a pocket. So in addition to doing cages, I got these at I got these at Aldi's for $2, $3. I also have a stake up next to each tomato to help give it some support. These are snapdragons that came back on their own this year. I came around and cleared the garden and I realized that I had some flowers growing already. Look at this beautiful yellow snapdragons. So I'm very excited to have flowers already coming in this garden. Over here, I need to add some more mulch. Yesterday I got about half the mulch added, but these are potatoes. And a fellow gardener told me these are looking a little yellow, so I actually need to come and add some fish emulsion fertilizer with water to these later today. But they look like they're looking pretty good overall. This is my cool weather beds. So these are lettuce. Now that one looks like it's going to seed, but the others are looking okay. And isn't that stunning? I'm going to harvest her this weekend, I think, and eat it. This is did I put labels down for any of you guys? No, I don't think I put labels down. Look how gorgeous that is. So I'm going to harvest some of this and we're going to have salad tonight. It's going to be a really nice salad. I believe these are collard greens, and that is the asparagus plant, which is a hybrid. And I know it's asparagus because I didn't plant any broccoli and it's making a broccoli head, so that must be the asparagus. I think these were Ethiopian mustard greens, which went to seed. It happens. Mustard will take off with any sign of heat, so they kind of went crazy. So I'll just let the bugs enjoy. I'll let the butterflies benefit from them. And then these are cabbage. These are late flat cabbage. So they're doing pretty good. This bed here is normally flowers, and look how big. That bush right there is one plant that I got from a friend a year and a half ago, and it is comfrey. And this is a sterile variety, so it won't spread by seed, but it can spread by rhizome. And look how big this thing is. I mean, it's a monster. We also have some reseeded Love and a Mist flowers. I just love kind of the ethereal look to them. They're a little faded, and I think that's partly because of the sun and the rain, but they're still gorgeous. I mean, just look how stunning that is. This right here is marshmallow which actually you use the roots for medicinal purposes. It makes these beautiful purple and white flowers. I didn't harvest it last year, and I think I'm supposed to do it in the fall or winter, but it's come back on its own, and it's really quite pretty, and I'm using this because it'll fall over if it doesn't have some support on it. I believe this is milkweed, and that's because it looks a lot like that milkweed. Over here we have a few different melons that are quite small. This is lemon drop watermelon, and I have to tell you, the seeds I got from Baker Creek were quite unhealthy looking, and I think they might have come from diseased plants, and given how stunted these plants are, now lemon drop watermelon are small melons, so that could be a factor too, but I'm quite surprised. These have been in the ground for about a week and they really haven't grown much, although they're looking relatively healthy. This is a carnival winter squash, and you'll notice I'm leaving the broadleaf plantain plants in the ground, and if you have paid attention in the past, you know I use these for medicinal purposes, and if you get stung by a bee or a mosquito and you don't have my bug bite balm handy, you just take this. If it's clean enough, you chew it a little bit, stick it on your skin like a poultice, and it'll take the sting out immediately. This is what I think is oregano left over from last year. Sure smells like it. As well as milkweed. And look, the milkweed is setting some pretty flowers. Over here is purple milkweed. It's more rare to find, and I stupidly pulled some of it before I realized it was purple milkweed. This plant here, but hopefully it'll survive this year, and I won't be stupid about pulling it. Got more squash over and melons over here. So this is dark star zucchini. I think you're also dark star zucchini, are you? Oh, you might be the partial eclipse. Patty pan squash. We got some flowers for me. This row I have yet to clear. We have some more squash. I think this is crookneck squash. And yesterday I came out and transplanted the purple asparagus in this bed. Now it takes 3 years or more for asparagus to get big enough to eat. So I imagine this bed will become fully an asparagus bed at some point. This is my second of 2 community garden plots. So it's all these beds and all those beds all the way to back to the fence. So it's 8 beds per side, plus my tower garden. These are eggplants, and they're getting eaten up by the flea beetles, or don't remember exactly what they're called. But you know what? Although it's not pretty, they'll still do okay. The bottom leaves are always kind of ugly. But I watered them yesterday. I'm going to fertilize them. Those are already bigger, like twice the size of a week ago. And now that it's getting warm, I think they'll grow pretty fast. Now, a tip for marigolds. The more you deadhead them, that's taking off the spent heads, the more they'll grow. Now look at my velvet dawn cornflowers that are finally blooming. I have 2 more garlic beds here. I have this one and that bed over there. This is the bronze fennel that I grew from seed last year, and it came back on its own this year, and the butterflies love it. So I just let it come back and, pick a little and smell it. Oh, it smells amazing. This needs to be weeded, but this is, and anyone know what that is? That looks kind of like a squash plant. It's a volunteer. Anyone knows what that guy is right there? So anyway, these are pepper plants. These are all ones I started indoors under grow lights. And I think I saw a pepper. These are all bell peppers. And look how big and nice they look. Pretty sure, oh yeah, look. But some critter ate into it. But I'm going to harvest it. I might still try eating it. We'll see how the inside looks. But again, technically, indoor started bell peppers were the first to produce fruit, although this isn't really the size of the fruit I want. In fact, a lot of the bell peppers and other peppers that I started using winter sowing, some of them still aren't ready to transplant, which is unusual. Usually by now they're big enough to transplant. So it's kind of disappointing because it's one of the challenges of winter sowing is you really can't control the weather, and if it's not hot enough or long enough with peppers, they just take a long time to get going. So I am glad I started a whole bunch of peppers from seed indoors. Doesn't mean you can't do winter sowing with peppers, and it's just the beginning of the season, so we'll see if the ones that I transplant this week that started winter sowing catch up as fast with the peppers, but we'll see. Yeah, but right now it's 1-0. on the winter sown versus homegrown versus indoor started pepper plants. Here's another row of the peppers, and look, here's another bell pepper. So this is a good sign. I think we'll have some nice bell peppers this year, and they will be bigger than this. It's just the plants are small. But yay! First bell peppers of the season. I'm looking forward to it. This is the garden towers, and I took one layer off that I haven't put anything on yet, and I'm going to plant a pepper plant and a dwarf tomato in this one, as well as some herbs. But you can see that they're doing well overall. Now, there was one of these lettuces that got rotted out at the base that I pulled out yesterday, and that is a risk with the rain coming down. If I'm watering not through this thing, but on the spraying the water over it, it can actually rot it at the base. But here's the beets I direct sowed in here, which I need to thin. The carrots that I direct sowed look like they're doing good. Some parsley, other lettuces. So overall, I'd say the green stalk is doing pretty well, and I've harvested a good number of leaves from this so far. These 3 rows are all tomatoes, and I'm going to plant actually some flowers in between these, but this plant, I couldn't help but buy at a garden center. It's a store-bought, I think it's Early Girl or Celebrity, and I took the fruit off when I transplanted it, but it has already set new fruit. So I might be getting tomatoes earlier, partly because I got them from store, but you can see the tomatoes, these, which I just transplanted a week ahead of this, I've almost caught up with this. And these I just transplanted last week, or 2 days ago. So you can see the size difference between what I just transplanted to about a week later. Now this is an exciting project I want to share with you, and I'm not going to talk a whole lot about it until I see how it actually does, but I'll at least let you know what's going on. So let's look. So one of my challenges with the rental plots is there's no electricity and there's no running water. But there's this company called Thirsty Earth, and I'm not getting paid for this. I bought this out of pocket. And in fact, the first set of Ollas, they sent me 3 of them. Half of the container had broken pots, but they resent new ones immediately, so that was awesome. But so it's basically, you have these terracotta pots that fill with water automatically. They're fed through these water tubes from this bucket. And I just filled it up a little bit more. And let me pop that back over it so it'll stay. I think that lid goes that way, yeah. We don't want this lid coming off. Anyway, it feeds into these. I just put this in yesterday, and I'll show you a video of me doing that. And then I had enough piping that I could take it to 2 beds. I have a total of 6 of the Ollas. And I'm using like this hollowed out bamboo piece to like cover up, you know, cover up the piping a little bit. And I also put this here as sort of this is like the end piece of one of these. It's got a nail in it, and I kind of put this here, and I put the stake here to remind myself to not trip over this area. I'm going to actually put some yellow duct tape on top of that bamboo also to notify myself that it's there. But this allows me to have these in both beds. Yeah, so I'm excited now. You're supposed to plant them within 6 inches of the plants, and I might be on the border. Like that one might be more than 6 inches away. So we'll see if I planted them close enough to the tomatoes, but hopefully I did. We'll find out soon enough. I think it'll be okay. These are some peppers I transplanted. I need to stake those up. This will be the second harvest from this. This is a volunteer chamomile plant. I grew chamomile from seed last year, and it reseeded. You can see there's one over there too. And I saw it in the spring, and I said, oh, I'm going to leave it. And boy, look how healthy this thing is. This bed, this is where I had my hairy vetch winter cover crop. So the idea of a cover crop is that you plant the seeds in the fall or early spring. In this case, I planted them in the fall. And then it can help amend the bed, keep the soil alive where it's at. In this case, hairy vetch helps fix the nitrogen or increase nitrogen in the soil. It also can serve as a weed suppressant. In this case, see how clean the beds are? There are very little weeds other than the hairy vetch to pull. There's one arugula plant as well that grew crazy there. But overall, it can help with that. I also put the hairy vetch plants, after I pulled them, back over the soil to help keep the moisture in, and that really did help. I transplanted out some tomatoes, and I took what was left of the hairy vetch dried up stuff and put it around the base of the tomatoes as like a little mulch thing. Oh, yeah, here's a nice one. These are my strawberry plants. These are 2 of the 4 I bought this year. Looks a nice ripe one here. I've been harvesting a few of these every day and taking them home, but a lot of them don't make it home. These are alpine strawberries that I grew from winter sowing. And look, they grow these cool little spiky looking strawberries. And the texture's kind of funky on them. And they kind of taste like a Fruit Loop and strawberry had a baby. They have a little bit more of a floral and fruity, but not strawberry kind of taste to them, but they're delicious. They're so good. This bed here is radishes that I've been harvesting and eating. This is the old winter bed. So this area needs a little bit of work to clean up. All right, now let's go check out the home gardens. In the backyard, we have 3 cucumber plants that I have put in cages. I have a video that I'm gonna post later this week about that, but basically these are pollinating cucumbers that I'm trying to get to grow without the cucumber beetle giving them diseases. And then over here we have some of the remnants of the winter sowing plants I need to transplant still. There's still a lot more beyond this, but this is what I kind of haven't moved to other areas. So we have coxcomb, which is supposed to be green and yellow, but I definitely see some red coxcomb. You can kind of tell by the color of the stem. These will be green. These will probably be the yellow. Oh no, these are the green. Yeah, those are more yellow. And then I think I got these seeds through a seed swap, which is fine. I don't mind red at all. I think I got some red in here as well. And you can even see like there's a baby red one. So I need to transplant these, and I'm probably going to do the hunk of seedling method where you just transplant several of them together. Here are the rose plants that I planted about 2 weeks ago and did a video on, well, maybe 3 weeks ago and did a video on. You can see they're doing great. So these were bare root roses that I put in these pots 3 weeks ago, and they're just taking off. So that's really exciting. And here's the extra little pot I did, and those nice little... Now, one thing I have had to do with these is, you see this tray here? I have had to, maybe once a week or once every other week, I've had to put the base of them in one of these and let them water from the bottom, because they're so small and being at an angle, they just really don't hold a lot of water and they need to be watered more often. So although they're adorable, these definitely need more frequent watering. Now let's get to what's going on in the backyard. Well, first of all, this is my native, mostly native, I think one of these ferns is not native, fern bed. This area is mostly shade. It gets a little bit of sun. You can see this pokeweed here. Definitely gets enough sun to survive, but it gets a little bit of sun, just enough for ferns. And I've wanted this to be like a fern bed, like a little woodland fern bed for quite a few years. Now the dark green one and those 2 dark green ones, these are Christmas ferns. Those are ones I started from plants this big that I got online. But I bought these 4, well no, I bought these 4 this year, and I planted these out. So one includes maidenhair fern, something wood fern. So at least it's starting to look like it's an intentional little fern area. My native plant, not counting this grass, so I'll have to take that out, but my native plant beds in the backyard are doing well. This is tall anemone or thimbleweed. It's native to the area. We have some, I think it's agastache. We have asters growing. We have mountain mint, and this will be, these little lower lying ones will be purple mist flower later on. My raspberry bush, I did not trim it this winter. As you can tell, it is massive. But some of the raspberries are actually starting to ripen. So raspberry season is just about here. Part of the reason why I didn't trim it back is because I know one set of raspberry bushes grows on old growth and one grows on new growth. And I can't remember which is which, and so I'm hoping to figure that out this time. Although, to be honest, I may still have trouble figuring that out. This bed still needs some work. This is one of 2 of the witch hazel bushes I planted 2 years ago. And I think I'm going to have to trellis it so it goes up a little bit more. And over here we have, I think that's mountain mint that is actually flowering. Yay! The mulberry tree is, as you can see from the bottom of the deck, a ton of mulberries, is ripening. The fruits are ripening. These beautiful, delicious mulberries. Now, I did a video on harvesting and using mulberries. Just beware, they will help you go to the bathroom. So if you need help with that, if you're a little constipated, they're great, but also be aware that they'll help you even if you don't need it. So they're yummy, but eat them in moderation. On the front porch, the little herb garden is doing well. The cilantro looks like it's about to bolt. And I have a few marigolds down here, these little pots near the entrance. I know that one's way too small for that marigold, but I figure if I give it enough fertilizer and nutrients, it'll probably do okay. Here's the front yard garden. Now, if you look down here, you will see some poison ivy. I have been battling poison ivy this year. I have pulled up poison ivy, including here, throughout my garden. And sometime I'll do a video on how to remove poison ivy, but clearly I didn't get the roots for this poison ivy, so I'm gonna have to come back and do it. But the milkweed, I have some volunteer garlic, black-eyed Susans, which is the Maryland state flower, doing well. The pansies I planted out are having a resurgence now that the tulips have died back. It's nice to have some color in here. And of course the yarrow, which is medicinal and native, minus the chokeweed, is starting to bloom. So we'll have some pretty white flowers here. This is the other rose bush that I planted in a pot around 3 weeks ago, and it's doing great. Here's calendula. The violas that I started from seed indoors are still doing good. Some marigolds. I'll come around to this side in a minute. This is kind of how it looks from here. You can see the little flowers for the sweet peas over there. This year I did buy some plants that had already started, like these dahlias. I bought, these are white, yellow, or peachish, and pink. Others that I bought were straw flower, and these, what are you? I forget what you're called. Super bells. I don't know what you're called, but the yellow and red flowers, as well as the celosia I bought this year. So some of the things that's flowering I bought, but there's also a lot that's come back on its own. The salvia has come back on its own, the sage, stocks, and then remember those mini roses that I grew using winter sowing? Look at this right here. It's a mini rose. I didn't know they were this mini. Look how tiny that thing is. It's so small. Here's my finger. A little mini rose. So I've got 3 of the plants here, and we'll see how they do. So we have our chocolate mint. This was Love and a Mist that came back on its own. It reseeded. My zinnias didn't do good with winter sowing this year. I don't know why. Maybe the seeds were old. Maybe there was a problem with watering. I only got like 3 zinnia plants, so I've planted them up. Oh yeah, over here we have the echinacea, and you can see it's already starting to set flowers. Probably about a month until they're fully bloomed. I have some more winter sowing stuff that needs to be transplanted, opened, but here we have some sunflowers. I'm going to plant those coxcomb I showed you in the backyard. I'm going to plant them in between the sunflowers here. So we'll have coxcomb and sunflowers growing here. And then these sweet peas are finally doing well. I hadn't trellised them up forever, and then I finally put some string out, and now they have something to climb to, and they are finally flowering. Really pretty blue ones. Look how pretty she is. And the purple one. So overall, I think this front garden is doing pretty good.